Let me start off by saying that I'm concerned when you keep saying, you can provide us with the legal staff's memorandum. This appears to be a major controversy as to whether or not these changes are legal, and most of the folks up here believe that it's not legal, particularly when it's so large a change. And I will have to tell you, this is what happens when one agency goes rogue. It wasn't yours, but I dealt with the Solyndra situation, as many people up here did. And General Counsel there did not give good legal advice, in my opinion. They gave bad legal advice. The agency acted on it, and I think they violated the law not once but about 3 times. And that was my opinion after reviewing all of the documents involved and all the opinions involved. They got bad counsel. So I'm going to ask you to get a second opinion after you provide us with what you've already got from your legal counsel. I'm going to ask that perhaps you look at getting a second opinion, because this is a very serious matter, and it appears that the legality is in serious question. Now, that being said, I have a little bit different tact, because last year, based on conditions in my district, I asked you all to do something, and that was to take care of our pharmacies. And I have recently had a conversation with one of my pharmacists who is willing to accept the price negotiated in the region. Just let me be able to provide my customers with the drug that they need or the drugs that they need. And he's been told no. And so when you say to us today that you're getting a lot of complaints, I understand that. Now, my question is, last year I wrote a letter, and I'm going to write you another letter thanking you all for taking care of the community pharmacies and saying, hey, if you meet the price, you can do it, because I represent a mountainous district. May not be the big mountains they have in the west, but in the east, we've got some pretty good mountains in Southwest Virginia. And so if you don't have a preferred pharmacy, you might be in the same county, but you might not be in an area where my people can get there easily, particularly if we happen to have 20 inches of snow on the ground. It's going to be even more difficult to travel those 10, 20, 30 miles that may pile up to get to the next pharmacy that's on the list. And so I do appreciate what you all did in that regard. Question becomes whether or not you have the legal basis to do it. Now, under your theory, with what you're changing in this rule, and of course it's not the whole 800 or 700 some pages, and I do have serious questions about the rest of it, you're trying to take care of that situation. You're trying to make it so that my constituent can go to the pharmacy down the street instead of having to drive around the mountain to the next pharmacy over. Isn't that correct?
So I think a couple things. We want to make sure that we are proposing these changes in an open and transparent way. And so one of the benefits is that going through the notice and comment process is that we get the best legal advice, not just from our lawyers, but from the Congress, from outside stakeholders. And so to your first point about getting a second opinion, that's precisely why we chose to go through the notice and comment process. To your second question regarding the pharmacist protections, we believe that Part D plans should be able to offer tiered pharmacy networks. We see evidence that they do reduce costs for the program for beneficiaries, but we have 2 principles. Principle 1 is that beneficiaries need to benefit from those tiered pharmacy networks. So it can't just be the plan sponsor that benefits, but it has to benefit both the beneficiaries and the taxpayers. And we agree that tiered pharmacy networks need to be fair, not just to the plan, not to the beneficiary, but to the community pharmacists. And so we have a hard time seeing the data evidence that we're seeing today, that the evidence for cost savings is mixed, and telling community pharmacies, well, they can't participate with major Part D plans. We want those tiered pharmacy networks to be fair. We want to make sure that beneficiaries see clear savings. But we agree that preferred pharmacy tools can be a good tool for the Part D program if structured correctly.
And here's the concern you're hearing today. Look, I think if you're fair to the beneficiaries, and I want fairness as well, if you're fair to the beneficiaries, then you are being fair to the community pharmacists, because in most cases, particularly in the rural areas, the folks know their pharmacist, they want to go to that pharmacist, and they go to somebody who's close by, and they want to make sure they don't have to drive around the mountain to get to the other side of the mountain in order to get their drugs, because it may not look like much on a map, but it's a big deal when you're having to drive that. But I have to say, Mr. Shimkus was right earlier when he said the whole idea is if you don't have the authority, it doesn't matter how much fairness you want, you need to bring that to us, and you need to say we need a bill to make this fair. And if what I need to do to take care of my people is to introduce a bill, then I will do that. but let's make sure that we don't have the Constitution being set aside because it's inconvenient. I yield back.
Chair, thanks, gentlemen. Now recognize